last time I came down to get water, I discovered that the dragonfly larva had started to hatch out. Usually by the time that happens, we've already got ice on the lake, and it's been a particularly warm fall so far, which is really nice. We're enjoying a lot of sunshine like today. So I got Trev to pick me up a new funnel to strain the water with. It has a screen in the bottom. We've used quite a few of these. The last one, though, I think ended up getting used for straining something with a motor. So it wasn't usable for water anymore. So he picked this up for me in Watson Lake the other day when he went in. So I can strain out any of the larvae and anything else that is pretty tiny, because it's a very fine screen. And I will see if I can catch any for you and show you. I've got a couple in here. They're little green things and they're wiggling around in the bottom there. I don't know if the camera can pick it up or not. Tiny little baby dragonfly larvae. In the springtime here we get tons and tons of these little blue dragonflies. And when you walk through the bush, they've all settled onto the moss. As you're walking through, they all come up, and it's like walking through a bunch of little teeny tiny fairies. It's really quite magical. They spend a lot of time in the water before they actually become dragonflies. I think I want to say 4 years, but I'll put it on the screen here somewhere if I'm wrong. But they spend a lot of time in the water and only one season as an actual dragonfly. Every fall, the larvae hatch out in the lake. Usually there's ice on the lake already. They are always close to the bottom of the lake. Getting the water here close to shore, I'm always scooping them up. So I end up having to go out further and chop a hole in the ice further out so that I'm above the level where the larvae are. Luna doesn't seem to mind drinking them, but I do. Anyway, so we're gonna fill up our buckets, and I brought down 2 extra ones today to fill up. I brought down a big, I think it's a 5-gallon bucket, which is a food grade approved bucket, as well as one of our camper jugs, because I need to have 2 jugs because I need to be balanced when I'm carrying them. It's a lot easier to carry 2 things than it is to carry 1. I've just found that over the years that it works a lot better for me to be balanced in my water jug carrying. This is actually a 6-gallon jug, and this is a 5-gallon jug. So I will probably not put as much water into the water jugs, just to kind of keep them evenly balanced. So I'm bringing up extra water today. The other thing I need to do today is go and bury my compost. So I'm going to bury it on the hill above where I get the water, because I figure that if ever we are in a position or in need of growing our own food, that would be a good place, because it would be a really good terrace garden right above the water, so it'd be easy to water and it would get full sunshine all summer long. So that's my theory anyway. So I bury my compost on the hill there. It's all sandy, so it's really easy to dig. So I'm all done my chores for today. I've vacuumed, I've swept, I put down the new rug that we brought up to put in the living room. I got a squirrel out of the kitchen. I got water, twice as much as I usually do. I got rid of the compost, and now I think it's time for a cup of tea. I also have to rescue Gracie, who's been out here while I've been getting water and doing compost stuff. I think she's ready to come in. Are ya? Are you enjoying the sunshine? So Trev pretty much finished his little drive-through garage thing. So he still needs to cover that up because the snow will blow in from up there. But you can see these are way overkill, but it's what we had brought in last year, and we just use whatever we've got. We can't be picky. And this year we brought up 2x4s, and he needed one more big beam, so he built one out of 3 2x4s stacked on top of each other to equal the 2x10s. So we had enough metal roofing around to be able to put a metal roof on it. Didn't need to have as high a wall because it goes up the hill here. This goes all the way up the hill. And there's a little fort up there that our son Zach built. I think one of the last years that he was here with us. No pink sunset tonight, but it still looks pretty neat. The sky here is always beautiful. It's October the 24th, and we are finally getting some ice forming on the lake this morning. That out there is a skiff of ice. Usually by Halloween, we can actually walk on the lake. I didn't think it was going to happen this year, but it still might. Just hasn't really gotten very cold here yet. See some ice out here on the lake. Right now it's just kind of floating around on the lake. It's the second morning we've woken up where there's been some skiffs of ice out there. Sun has come out for a little bit. I left the solar panels charging our 2,000 watt battery. Hopefully it stays out long enough that it charges it all the way up, which would be nice. I wanted to get out and get some exercise in today before we get some real snow. We've had 3 mornings where we woke up and had a skiff of snow. but the ground wasn't cold enough and it wasn't enough snow to last through the day. Sun came out and melted it all away. The lake is starting to get ice on it when we get up in the morning. If it's windy, it blows the ice around and it kind of ends up just melting, but there's usually a little bit left around the edges. So we know that we're getting close to the lake freezing up. We still have ducks on the lake, and Trev just was out in the canoe, and there were 2 adult swans and 2 younger ones, which are still gray, out there. And he saw the mama moose and her baby behind Wolf Island across the lake from the cabin. So everybody is still around, but as soon as the lake starts to really get a good coating of ice on it, the ducks will disappear and the swans will stop stopping in. And I can feel on my legs that it's getting close to the time where I need to add a pair of long underwear underneath my leggings. Don't need gloves yet. All of the tamaracks or larch, whichever you call them, they look like an evergreen tree with the needles, but they lose their needles in the fall, just like a deciduous tree. They add a nice yellow edging to the lake in the fall. They've lost all their needles. You can see here there are rose hips on the bushes. These ones are looking a little bit worse for wear. We do get a lot of rose hips up here. If I ever needed to harvest them for vitamin C, could definitely do that. There's the lake behind me there. This trail goes along the lake past the cabin. I find it a more interesting walk than going back the way that we come in with the ATV. It's just kind of a prettier right beside the lake trail. So this is the one I take when I take the dogs for a walk. Here comes Fred. And there's Una. Fred's deafness has definitely made him more needy. There he is. He gets very worried when I'm not where he can see me or find me. He just starts to howl and cry, and he just really upset. It's funny, but it's not funny because, you know, he's worried and he's can't figure out where I am. So I try not to leave him alone. He's definitely a mama's boy. Dogs have gone further down the trail than I was planning to go. Ready, Una! Of course, Fred can't hear me, but he will come running back because Una comes running back. Come on! Hi! Hi, happy dog! Una! Here she comes. So now we're just going to walk down the little side trail here to go and look at the lake again. I don't know if this is going to be my last fall walk down here with winter coming on. Dog's getting a drink of water. We get swans who stay here over the summer and have their babies. The one thing that is kind of sad is that we see the swans with maybe 2 or 3 babies, and the next day they come by and they've got 2 babies or 1 baby, and it's usually the river otters that get the babies. River otters are very predatory. They eat the muskrats, they eat the beaver babies, they eat the pike, they eat the ducks. They're pretty mean. We enjoy watching them in the wintertime. They come up on top of the ice and they play and run around and then go down through a hole that's been created in the ice. Sometimes they create them with their heads. They bash through the ice, but they're fun to watch, but they're mean. We also get loons coming on the lake. We had a couple when we arrived. They have been gone for a couple of weeks now. The ducks are still hanging around, and the swans, as they're heading south, have been stopping in just about daily. It's always neat to see them. So we're going to head back to the cabin. Going to go make some tea, make some lunch, and warm up my legs. Just to give you an update on my plantar fasciitis foot, it's doing much better. I am feeling less and less discomfort with it. I've been able to do these walks and not pay the price too extremely anymore. So I'm hoping by the time the lake freezes over to the point I can walk on it and the snow comes and we get my skidoo trail path all set up on it, that I'll be able to do my 10,000 steps every day. I'm really looking forward to that. Even if I have to walk on the frozen lake on the same trail every day, I'm fine with that. I listen to podcasts, or I have a whole pile of audiobooks on my phone. If you are interested in audiobooks that are not expensive, I know there's the company called Audible. I find them to be really expensive. I think it's $15 a month and you get one book. So there's another company called Chirp, C-H-I-R-P, like a bird says, chirp, chirp. And they have such good deals. 99 cents, $2.99. They have Freebie Friday, where you can get free books. And they're all good books. They're not like somebody who's thinks they're writing. There's very popular authors on there. And if you're interested, I'll leave a link down below where you can go and check it out, because I really like it. I have hundreds of books from Chirp. They always send out a sale thing. You can list your preferences. Really good if you do a lot of listening to books. He's telling us off. Then we've got one to the left and one to the right. There are a lot of squirrels here this year. Bye! The ice is really starting to form on the lake this morning. It is just below 0 degrees Celsius here. And that is smoke coming from the chimney as the fire gets going in the wood stove. But it's also very misty out there. There's 4 swans over there on the far side of the lake. I assume they're going to spend the night. Most of the ice has moved down to the one end of the lake and kind of crunched up together, so there's definitely not as much ice as there was when we started this morning. Sun really didn't come out today, but we do have the swans visiting on the other side of the lake. Lots of ice on the lake this morning. There's a few open places where the ducks can still paddle around. But down this end, to the west of the cabin, it looks like it's mostly frozen in from here. I'm going to fry up some eggs this morning to go with some leftover pancakes for breakfast. And I'm realizing that I'm going to have to bring in my fresh produce and the eggs and things like that from outside where they've been in a cooler and the big freezer, because it's getting cold enough overnight that I think things are going to be freezing. So I'm going to have to check everything out there today and see how they're doing and make room in here for the cooler that we bring in. It sits on the floor here in the cabin by the front of the kitchen. It being on the floor keeps things as cold as a fridge, sometimes as cold as a freezer. When it gets really cold here, things on the floor in the kitchen will freeze. So we have to move the dog's water bowl out to the front of the cabin by the wood stove to keep that from freezing. And all of the produce and things like that that we bring in that are fresh have to be moved back into the storage area where they won't freeze but they still stay cool.